My name is Benson Boone. I'm 18 years old, and I'm from Monroe, Washington.
Benson Boone had everything a young singer could dream of. Talent, looks, a viral audition clip, and the golden seal of approval from Katy Perry herself, who confidently predicted he could win it all. Yet just as the lights began to shine brighter, he made a move that left the nation gasping. He quit American Idol at the edge of superstardom. No scandal, no elimination, just an abrupt exit that blindsided judges and viewers alike. His official statement sounded simple. He wanted to focus on his music career. But those words barely scratched the surface of what was truly unfolding behind the scenes. Because this wasn't just about chasing creative freedom. What came next would reveal a much deeper pain. There were late-night breakdowns, family grief, and a crisis of identity that few could see behind his soft voice and viral clips. Some would call it brave. Others would say he threw it all away. But the truth was far more complicated and far more tragic. Because what Benson Boone faced next wasn't just the silence that follows leaving a stage. It was the silence of being lost in your own mind, unsure if the dream you walked away from would ever come back. And what followed would not only reshape his career, but expose a side of fame no one wants to talk about. In 2021, Benson Boone received what most aspiring singers would call a miracle, a direct invitation to audition for American Idol Season 19. Bypassing the long casting lines and producer pre-screenings that most contestants endure, his performance of Punchline instantly captured hearts and catapulted him into the spotlight, drawing praise from all three judges. Katy Perry said he had what it took to win the whole thing. Lionel Richie called his voice powerful and his presence magnetic. Luke Bryan joked that he was still in musical diapers, but with a tone that hinted at undeniable potential. Viewers at home were buzzing. Clips went viral overnight, and Benson quickly advanced into the top 24, one step away from live shows and a potentially life-altering contract. But then came the move that made headlines across every entertainment outlet. Benson withdrew from the competition without warning. Just like that, the rising star who had all of America watching quietly walked away from the biggest stage of his young life. In a public post, he said, "I decided to leave the show to focus on my music career. It was the best decision I've ever made." The judges expressed disappointment, but none seemed truly surprised. Katy Perry would later say, "You leaving was the best thing you ever did," suggesting there was more behind the scenes than fans realized. And Benson himself later admitted that at the time, he wasn't even sure he wanted to pursue music long-term. He felt overwhelmed, unprepared, and unsure whether the fame machine was where he truly belonged. The exit sent shockwaves through social media. Not because he lost, but because he chose to leave something millions would give anything to have. And for Benson, that decision would come to define not just his career, but his survival. Walking away from American Idol didn't just close a chapter. It opened the floodgates to something Benson Boone hadn't prepared for. The crushing silence that follows a viral moment. No more camera crews, no vocal coaches, no mentors guiding his path, just the raw pressure of the internet's expectations and his own inner voice, growing louder with doubt. The world had praised his bravery, but inside, Benson felt like he was unraveling. Without the show's structure, he found himself drifting into long nights filled with confusion, questioning not just his music, but his identity. Then came the blow that cracked his emotional foundation. His beloved great-grandmother passed away in 2022. She wasn't just a family elder. She was his spiritual anchor, the one who gave him a sense of belonging when fame made everything feel temporary. Her death plunged him into a deep emotional fog. In interviews, he confessed to sleepless nights, fearing he had thrown away his only shot. Depression, anxiety, and a brutal sense of self-doubt began to dominate his daily life. It wasn't just about missing a TV show anymore. It was about missing himself. Friends saw a talented musician. Benson saw someone falling apart. The grief from his grandmother's death triggered a storm that shook his mental health and fractured the confidence he once carried so easily. And as he drifted further into isolation, the applause faded, but the pressure didn't. Instead, it sat on his chest like a weight, reminding him that success doesn't just disappear, it waits for you to crumble. After the grief set in, Benson Boone found himself trapped in a strange limbo. Not quite a star, not quite forgotten, but painfully aware that the next move could make or break everything. Stripped of the safety net that American Idol had once offered, he was now navigating the brutal landscape of the music industry on his own, with nothing but his voice and an avalanche of emotions he didn't know how to sort through. Behind the scenes, he was dealing with far more than public pressure. He began questioning the core of his upbringing. His Mormon faith, the beliefs that once grounded him now left him feeling conflicted and distant. In an interview, he openly shared that he no longer identified with the church, but still carried many of its principles, like abstaining from alcohol and staying focused on discipline. But even those values couldn't protect him from the breakdown that was coming. With no manager pushing him, no label guiding his every word, Benson turned inward and started pouring his confusion into music. It was raw, unpolished, and emotionally naked. Songs like In the Stars, written after his great-grandmother's death, and Ghost Town, which painted the loneliness of success, weren't made for radio. They were survival tools. Little Runaway, written for his sister Kay, who had battled mental health struggles, became a whispered letter of hope, not just for her, but for himself. Slowly, without even realizing it, Benson was building a lifeline. And as the comments on TikTok and YouTube began flooding in, people who resonated with every lyric, every aching note, he discovered that maybe, just maybe, he hadn't lost his way. He was just drawing a new map. Just when it seemed like Benson Boone might quietly fade into the long list of talented artists lost in the algorithm, something unexpected happened. He started posting again. Not on television or Spotify, but on TikTok. No lights, no makeup, no carefully curated production. Just Benson, a piano, and his voice. And the internet couldn't look away. The very platform once dismissed as disposable entertainment became his lifeline to millions. His clips were raw and unfiltered, fragments of melody laced with heartbreak, grief, and quiet resilience. By mid-2025, his account had surged to over 9.1 million followers, with more than 320 million likes and billions of views. One of his teaser clips for the song Beautiful Things alone racked up millions of shares in mere hours. His voice didn't just reach ears, it reached hearts. And among those hearts was Dan Reynolds, frontman of Imagine Dragons and head of Night Street Records. Reynolds wasn't just looking for another TikTok sensation. He was drawn to something deeper, a kind of emotional truth in Benson's voice that couldn't be manufactured. After a private meeting at the end of 2021, Benson signed with Night Street in partnership with Warner Records, and from that moment, everything began to shift. His debut single Ghost Town dropped in October 2021, entering the Billboard Hot 100 and eventually amassing over 171 million streams worldwide. It was a song about being invisible in the middle of applause, a haunting, gut-level track that signaled Benson hadn't just returned. He had evolved. He wasn't singing for a record deal anymore. He was singing for his life. What began as a quiet return on TikTok soon detonated into a global musical eruption, as Benson Boone turned personal tragedy into chart-topping triumph with a string of soul-bearing songs. Ghost Town may have opened the door, but it was In the Stars that blew it off the hinges. Released in April 2022, the track was written in memory of his great-grandmother, and it quickly transformed into something far bigger than one man's grief. The song became a universal anthem for anyone who's ever lost someone they loved, echoing through memorial tributes, graduation videos, and mental health awareness campaigns around the world. It racked up over 1 billion streams, earned double platinum status in the US, and even went diamond in France, a feat few American artists ever achieve. Benson wasn't chasing trends or pandering to radio stations. He was bleeding onto the page, and somehow the whole world related. And it didn't stop there. He released 2 EPs, Walk Me Home and Pulse, each one capturing new layers of heartbreak, healing, and the quiet resilience that had become his trademark. Critics noticed, fans multiplied, and through it all, Benson refused to overproduce his music or lean into gimmicks. He chose simple melodies, direct lyrics, and arrangements that felt like late-night conversations rather than studio experiments. It was this refusal to conform that made him magnetic. He wasn't just surviving the music industry, he was bending it to his rhythm. And as the streams piled up and the awards buzz began, Benson still carried the grief, but now it had a beat, and the world was listening. By 2024, Benson Boone wasn't just a promising artist. He was a global phenomenon teetering on the edge of superstardom. And the release of Beautiful Things catapulted him straight into the pop stratosphere, dropped on January 19th. The track spread like wildfire, and within just 2 weeks, it reached number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100, topping charts in over 20 countries including the UK, Australia, and across the entire Billboard Global 200. With more than 1.8 billion streams by mid-2025, the song earned 5x platinum certification and became the biggest hit of Benson's career. It was raw, heartfelt, and filled with lyrical vulnerability that reminded fans exactly why they fell in love with his music in the first place. But with the glow of success came a much darker weight: expectation. Whispers started swirling on social media. Was he just a one-hit wonder? An industry plant groomed for viral fame? Critics speculated, fans debated, and labels quietly questioned whether Benson could maintain the magic. The boy who once walked away from American Idol was now being pulled back into the exact machine he'd tried to escape. And yet, instead of folding under pressure, he doubled down. He released Fireworks and Rollerblades in April 2024 and followed it with American Heart in June 2025, which debuted at number 2 in the US and topped charts internationally. Combined, the album surpassed 6 million global sales. Grammy nominations rolled in. Billboard trophies were added to the shelf. But behind every accolade was a storm of second-guessing, a quiet fear that one misstep could shatter everything. Because now, Benson Boone wasn't just expected to make beautiful things. He was expected to be one. By the time American Heart topped charts, Benson Boone wasn't just dealing with the high of success. He was swimming in the murky waters of online criticism, dissected by commentators who questioned whether his rise was real or just algorithm magic. The term industry plant started resurfacing, and his authenticity, once his strongest weapon, was suddenly under fire. But instead of issuing a press release or tweeting a thread, Benson did what true artists do. He created. On June 20th, 2025, the same day he released American Heart, Benson dropped the music video for Mr. Electric Blue. And it wasn't just a video, it was a statement. With cheeky satire, raw visuals, and moments of unfiltered vulnerability, including shots of himself shirtless and facing the camera head-on, he dismantled the assumptions about his image, his rise, and his intentions. It was part rebellion, part confession, and all Benson. In interviews, he admitted the pressure had made him angry, but he never lost sight of his direction. That defiance rolled straight into the American Heart World Tour 2025, a 50-date global spectacle that kicked off in August and sold out almost instantly. From Chicago to London to Stockholm, fans showed up in droves, over 500,000 of them, to witness the artist who wasn't manufactured, but forged by heartbreak, hustle, and one viral decision that changed everything. And as Benson stood on stage each night, backed not by reality TV producers, but by the love of fans he'd earned on his own terms, it was clear he hadn't just silenced the critics, he'd outgrown them. Behind every performance, every award, and every viral hit stood the quiet strength of Benson Boone's most important support system, his family, and the woman he now calls his peace. While the music industry swirled with chaos, his mother Carrie remained his anchor, staying up through sleepless nights, listening without judgment, and reminding him that self-worth isn't measured in Spotify streams. His father Nate, though more reserved, instilled the core values, discipline, honesty, and quiet resilience that Benson still carries, even after stepping away from the Mormon faith that shaped his childhood. His 4 sisters, Kay, Natalie, Emma, and Claire, each played a vital role. But it was Kay's battle with mental health that profoundly shaped Benson's perspective and inspired Little Runaway, one of his most intimate songs. And then there's Maggie Thurman, the actress and TikTok influencer whose presence entered Benson's life in early 2024 and never left. They made their first public appearance at an Elton John charity event, but their relationship was never for show. Benson described her as the beautiful things in my life, and Maggie has echoed the sentiment, saying, "He never lets me feel alone." Whether backstage on tour or simply holding space during emotional storms, Maggie became more than a partner. She became a living reminder of everything Benson was fighting to protect: sincerity, connection, and real love in a world that often rewards the opposite. Their relationship isn't broadcast for clicks, but its impact is evident in every lyric about healing, hope, and holding on. As Benson Boone continues to dominate global charts and sell out arenas, it's not the platinum plaques or viral numbers that define him. It's the legacy he's quietly building through compassion, authenticity, and emotional leadership. Even at the peak of his career, he's avoided flashy endorsements and commercial distractions, choosing instead to focus on causes that matter. He launched the Benson Boone Scholarship Fund to support students from his hometown, contributed to wildfire relief through MusiCares, and most notably, became a voice in the 2025 National Suicide Prevention Campaign, sharing his own battles with mental health to encourage others to seek help. On live streams, he's told fans that pain doesn't make you weak, it's what can make you stronger. His music has become more than entertainment. It's become a soundtrack for survival. Benson's songs are now used in grief counseling sessions, mental health campaigns, and family memorials across the globe. And yet through it all, he remains grounded, more focused on emotional truth than brand image. He once said, "I don't want to be remembered for one song. I want to leave something that matters." And he has. From the young contestant who walked away from American Idol to the global artist whose lyrics have helped others stay alive, Benson Boone has redefined what it means to rise. He didn't do it with shock value or media stunts. He did it by being honest, staying kind, and writing his pain into something beautiful. And that's a legacy that will echo far beyond the charts. So, in a world where most artists are built by labels, filtered by algorithms, and polished until they vanish into the crowd, Benson Boone did something rare. He broke, rebuilt, and rose again on his own terms. He didn't chase fame through the front door. He walked away from it, only to build something far more lasting through the side streets of grief, heartbreak, and honest storytelling. From a TikTok piano in his bedroom to diamond certifications and global tours, his journey proves that vulnerability isn't weakness. It's the raw material of greatness. If Benson's story hit home for you, if you've ever felt lost, doubted, or written off, maybe it's time to reclaim your voice too. And if you believe that real music still has the power to heal, don't just scroll away, hit that subscribe button, share your thoughts in the comments, and keep following us for more untold stories that go far beyond the spotlight.